impacts of global climate change are happening now. Melting glaciers, rising sea levels, heat waves, drought, wildfires, more intense hurricanes and flooding, these impacts are inescapable, threatening people, wildlife, and the environment. The amount of warming that will occur in this century and beyond depends largely on the choices we make now and over the next decade. If we are to be successful in restoring balance to our climate, we must go beyond reducing greenhouse gas emissions to actually drawing down the dangerously high level of carbon dioxide that is already in our atmosphere. And our best option to do that may be through carbon farming. What is carbon farming? Carbon farming is a simple idea. Applying compost and other practices that increase the level of organic carbon in soil restores soil health and increases photosynthesis in plants and their ability to draw down and store additional CO2 from the atmosphere in the ground. When we send our food and yard waste to the landfill, we're accelerating climate change by producing methane, a powerful greenhouse gas. If we avoid the landfill and instead use these materials to make compost and apply it to depleted soil, we are restoring nature's nutrient cycle that builds soil slowly over time. Thanks to research by the Marin Carbon Project and other recent studies, we know that compost use and other regenerative practices that build soil can draw down significant amounts of carbon and store it long-term in the soil. Carbon farming is a climate solution, and it results in other benefits like more nutrient-dense food and more drought-resilient crops. As farmers know well, the more soil carbon you have, the better your soil is able to hold water and nutrients to make crops more resilient to weather variables. As a nonprofit recycler with the mission to advance zero-waste policies and practices, Eco-Cycle is striving to make this connection between waste, compost use, and climate change.
In my previous career as an organic vegetable farmer in Boulder County, I struggled to get enough nutrients in my marginal soil. I even attempted to collect organic waste from the stores and restaurants who bought my produce on my own, so I could make my own quality compost. I came to Eco-Cycle and eventually became director of our compost department because I wanted to see the change I knew we had to make to keep our soils healthy. But here's the thing, we can't just ask farmers to use compost and fix our climate for us. The global market is telling them exactly the opposite. Grow food as cheaply as possible and ignore your soil. Every farmer I've ever met cares deeply for their land, but we need creative incentives to shift how we manage our soils and our waste. What's exciting for me is this creativity is happening at an accelerating pace. I'm very proud that farmers in Boulder County, both organic and non-organic, are partnering with local government and Colorado State University to conduct research and demonstration trials on working land and highly degraded land to find out what works best for our climate. But what about the urban soil and the people who manage that? What about our own yards? What's the potential to store carbon and build those soils? And maybe more importantly, can urban soil projects create public awareness and help drive those agricultural incentives that we need? And that's how Eco-Cycle's carbon farming campaign began.
In 2019, Eco-Cycle created our Community Carbon Farming project to make carbon farming accessible and understandable to non-farmers. Anyone with access to a lawn or grassy yard can conduct their own mini carbon farming trials to measure carbon sequestered from the atmosphere and create a climate solution literally in their own backyards. Participants apply a prescribed amount of compost to half their trial area and measure soil carbon over time against the non-composted half of the trial. The cumulative results of these community science trials generate valuable information about the value of compost programs and the application of compost in helping soil draw carbon from the atmosphere.
By testing carbon sequestration on urban lands, our hope is that the data collected can start to tell us what is the potential for urban soils to sequester carbon. But perhaps more importantly, it's an opportunity to learn firsthand about your own soil and to increase public awareness about the potential to reverse climate change simply by prioritizing soil health worldwide.
At next year's Soil Revolution Conference, we'll report on the results of our initial 3-year study we conducted with 230 volunteers measuring carbon sequestration in their own backyards. Want to participate yourself? You can join through our observational carbon farming project. For more information, visit ecocycle.org/takeaction/community carbon farming, or contact Dan Matsch, Director of Compost, at dan@ecocycle.org.